Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Multifamily Hangout. I'm super excited to be here with you. I'm Adrian Danila, your host, and I want to thank our sponsors for making this broadcast possible. They are Kairos and GPS Roof Leak Repairs. With this being said, I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Chris Moreno. Take it away, sir.
Thanks, Adrian, and really excited about our guest today, who's also here in the Southeast, depending on how he describes it. But he began his career in 1990 in the multifamily residential market and has an extensive combination of corporate, on-site operations experience. And really, he's got through these 3 decades of management, marketing, strategic planning, acquisitional understanding, but also across multiple types of verticals, from the REITs to conventional, multifamily, military, low income, and HUD and beyond. So I'm really excited about today's chat. And without further ado, we welcome Carlyle Swafford, the COO of Avenir Living, who's based out of Aventura. So welcome, Carl. Thanks for joining us today.
It's great to be here. Thanks, fellas.
Yeah, of course. And, first and foremost, Carl, I would love to kind of hear how you fell into multifamily and hear a little bit about your journey and from your own words.
Interesting. So I was in the Marine Corps. I was getting out. My girlfriend, which is my wife of 35 years now, was working the front desk of an R&B apartment management. It was an Oakwood building in Washington, D.C. And I would go and pick her up from work every day after work. And the office staff knew that I was getting out, and they were asking me if I was interested in getting into property management. And no, I'm not interested in that. And we had these conversations go back and forth for a few months. And I eventually interviewed with the regional manager. His name is Ken Sherman. We went through the interview and we get to the end, and he said, so, where would you see yourself in, 5 or 7 years in property management? And I said, so what do you do? And he said, well, I'm a regional manager. And he kind of walked me through that. And I politely smiled back at him and said, well, I would like to do what you do. And he just nodded. And he's like, well, okay, well, you need to kind of apply yourself. And if you connect with people and you do your job, I don't see why you couldn't make it to that point. So I ended up taking a job as a junior maintenance engineer with Oakwood. So I started off as a maintenance, got into HVAC, got my 6-class boilers license. And from there, I became a leasing consultant and then leasing manager, then a property manager. From Oakwood, I went to Southeast Properties for a couple of years and did some commercial management. I was responsible for 1 million square feet of retail space in Florida. Figured that I'm not a commercial person as much as I am residential. I enjoyed the multifamily market. So I took a maintenance position with Aimco. A year later, I was given a property in West Palm Beach as a manager. From there, I went to the Bay Club at Aventura and Waterways Village as a general manager. Did that for a couple of years. And then I went with Charles E. Smith, who became Archstone Smith at the time. Managed a couple of properties down on Miami Beach. And then from there, I took a position with Kettler Management, where I became a regional and then a vice president of operations. And then from there, I held positions at Wynn, Residential, Pinnacle, and then Donaldson Group. I became a senior vice president. And now I'm here at Avenir Living as a COO. So it's been an interesting journey for me and a lot of people that have helped me get there.
Carl, super impressive career, and doing leasing, maintenance, management, leadership, executive roles. Now, you almost done it all. Is there any position in property management that you haven't done yet?
Oh, it's interesting. So I don't know. So we all have career aspirations and goals, and we have marks in our lives that we want to hit. And mine simply was to be a regional manager. I wanted to oversee site teams, and not necessarily properties, but I wanted to oversee teams of people. And this industry provided me that opportunity to do that. I was only a regional for probably less than a year. And I went from a regional to vice president of operations at Kettler. And I was not prepared for that. But I was put in the position, and I had really good people around me. A gentleman named Bob Murray saw something in me that I had not yet seen in myself, and he put me in that position. And he was a great mentor for me. And then from there, my career just kind of expanded. And a lot of people, find themselves in positions, and they want to, and they're looking for the next one, I think for people that find themselves in the position that they're in, if they can master those positions and then work with a mindset at the next level, the next position, you'll find yourself in that position eventually, because your mindset's there. And then it's just the opportunity of being put in that position. So I encourage people out there, if you're, don't press so hard in your career and where you want to go. People see you. People recognize effort, and they recognize success, and they're gonna want to capitalize on that, and they're gonna want to put you in those roles, in those positions. So don't push.
Sounds like you shared a little bit, obviously, about your wife being at Oakwood. Your experience in the Marine Corps. I'm kind of curious because I feel like one of the things I love is hearing people's experience and going through difficult times. I think leadership, when you're in difficult, like you said, being put into situations. But do you also feel like a lot of that, what you just talked about, of doing the hard work, you will be rewarded, but you don't need to always be the center of attention? Is that something that you learned also from the Marine Corps? Or was there someone in your life who kind of taught that to you? Because it doesn't seem like that's something that you learn just right off the bat. It takes someone else showing that to you. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a really cool question. It's a really cool question. I think, it goes back to, so people can have, some people have the knack of just evaluating talent, and they see somebody working in a role or a particular job, and I think it's behaviors and your character has a lot to do with it. Your integrity of how you approach a project or a task, how you manage through fails, I think is what I look at. Not necessarily, what you're good at, but what are the challenges that you're faced, and how do you overcome them, and what abilities do you have where you can comfortably manage and navigate your way through that, right? And it's putting people in situations where they're building their self-confidence, where they can really match the confidence that you have in the person that they haven't even realized that they have yet. When I was in the military, in boot camp, I was put in a position. We'll just say that I was the third recruit in charge of our platoon that we were in, and I had really not been away from home. It was a new experience for me, and I was afraid and nervous and all those things, and I was awarded this position, which really freaked me out. And when you're put in positions like that, you kind of dig inside internally, and then you adjust to what those situations are. And I think as I have grown in my career, I found myself time after time after time after time being put in those positions, and it's how you react to it and how you position yourself. And we see that in our organization. So at Adveneer, you've got around 370 people that work on the operation side for the company, and we had 50 internal promotions last year, and that's huge for us. And we all drive that. The executive team in our organization drives that, and we want people to be recognized, and we want people to succeed, and we want to keep our history intact within the organization, and we want people to grow. And when you do that, you provide this structure and stability within the organization. And just personally from my experience, there was a long list of individuals in my career that have helped me and positioned me and played a part and partnered with me in my growth. And we all get to a point in our professional careers where we've made it to a certain point, and then we take a look back and we help people up, or we do that within our career and we make that a part of our business, and we make that a part of who we are. And again, I'm kind of playing this forward a little bit, but I'm not ready to retire, but I'm a lot closer today than I am when I started in 1990, right? And so I'm at a point in my life where I'm looking back and I'm asking the question, did I matter? Did I play a part in people's lives? Did I do what I was supposed to do as a human in the business world, right? And I'm still working that, and I'm still evaluating and second guessing decisions I make and how I approach things. But to answer your question, it's being put in a position and then reacting to that position. And I think the more you do that, the more comfortable you get at it. So,
Carl, I want you to share with us some pivotal moments and the greatest lessons that you have learned from your 3-decade journey in property management.
They've all been humbling. I can tell you that for a fact. I mean, I could go down. I could go down 2 roads. I could go down. Hey, let me tell you all the great, cool things that happened to me in my career. All right, that's easy. But let's talk about the hard ones. Let's talk about the ones that hurt. I think those are the ones that matter. Those are the ones that count, right? So, Ken Sherman is the one that he believed in me at the very beginning. So 7 years later, from the day that I met him and interviewed, I became a regional. 7 years. And I called him. I still had his number and said, hey, Ken, I became a regional. And then a year later, I called him and said, hey, now I'm a vice president of operations. And that was rewarding to have that experience with him. And that was really cool. Steve Halsey, I worked with him, Charles E. Smith and Archstone, and man, what an incredible human being he is. And he played. Look, I didn't work with Steve Halsey every day, but he was a part of my professional life, and I knew who he was, and I got to see him, and I got to experience him, and the way that he carried himself, and the way that he speaks, and the way that he commands a room. He taught me things that were latent, and I watched him and used him as a model of who I am today and how I interact. And Glenn Evers was a regional at the time, and he had to sit me down and have a formal conversation with me in my career about a situation that helped pivot me and help me think. And that incident was, and I'll be honest with that. He asked me a question, and I didn't answer that truthfully to his liking, and he called me on it. In my head, I was doing one thing, but the reality was something completely different. And he had a great conversation with me about the do's and don'ts of those types of actions, and it helped me today in how I interact with people. So, I want to encourage people that are listening. If you're not going to do it right all the time, just not. It's impossible for you to do that. When you don't hit marks, or you don't do things that you're supposed to do or needed to do, those are opportunities for you to pivot. You can continue going down that road and doing things like that, or you can take a step back and look at what you actually did and the impacts it has, or is going to have, or potentially could have on yourself or an organization, and pivot. And then through that experience, you teach and coach that to other people, and you help them to understand the dynamics of making decisions. So that was a great lesson I got from Glenn. Bob Murray promoted me to vice president of operations at Kettler. Cindy Clare came in less than a year later and demoted me from that position. And I respect the heck out of Cindy Clare for making that move at Kettler, because she knew that I wasn't ready for that position. So that was a growth opportunity for me. And through that, I grew. So I'm very grateful. And Cindy and I have had conversations past that. And I told her how I respected and honored her for that decision that she made. And again, I could have gone down a different path with that. Jennifer Sutter. This is an interesting. I kind of think of myself as an idea guy, and so I like to throw things on the wall and have people around me try to kind of figure out what to do with it, right? Well, Jennifer called me on that, and she's like, Carl, when you throw stuff up on the wall, other people have to clean up your messes. So when you come up with ideas, why don't you help us create what your vision is? And that was a great lesson for me, and that was quite humbling. And I respect Jennifer for taking the time and pointing that out to me and showing me that. Carl Einsel and Walt Donaldson at the Donaldson Group. That was a great experience for me. And Carl and Walt and Scott Altman, very much respect them and my time with them. When I was promoted to a senior vice president, I was talking to Carl Einsel. He's the president of the Donaldson Group. And I told him I'm kind of struggling a little bit of trying to find myself in this new role. And he sat me down and said, Carl, we promoted you and hired you because of who you were. So we would like you to be uniquely yourself. We don't want you to be somebody else. We don't want to think that you have to be somebody else. So that was a great lesson for me, both a life lesson and a professional lesson. So today, when I'm talking to individuals, I want to know what they're truly thinking on the inside, and not thinking that I want to hear something a certain way. Like, I want them to uniquely tell me in their words what they're thinking and how they're thinking. So it allows me to have a realistic conversation with them, and it helps me make better decisions. So, and now I've got David Fakito. He's the CEO of Adveneer Living. He is an extraordinary partner and a mentor to me, along with the other folks that we have on our executive team. David has a unique knack of pushing me and professionally focusing me on the things that I need to focus on as a COO, and it's been extremely beneficial for me. I have really, I'm not going to say struggled, but I've been challenged with making that move from a vice president to a COO. It's not an easy move. I'm finding myself having to disconnect from operations and be more of the platform individual, looking how all the resources work and how all the pieces fit. Where I've spent the last 30 years with my sleeves rolled up in the middle of making management decisions of how to operate sites and teams. So now I get the joy of watching other people do that and being a coach and a mentor for them. I get to become the Glenn Evers, and I get to become the Steve Halseys, and I get to become the Carlyle Swafford and the David Fakitos of my world. And I'm just so grateful to have those people in my life to help me navigate and manage through those things. Even to Cindy Clare and that situation that I had at Kettler. She was an extraordinary role model in how to gracefully handle a situation like that and how to work somebody through that where they would receive and perceive that the right way. So I've had extraordinary people in my life to help me.
This is great. Thanks for being vulnerable and sharing this and these stories. And these people, it's funny. Steve Halsey was he was the first guest when I joined Adrian that we had on.
Great.
I'm not sure. Yeah. So Steve has made a huge impact on my life. Obviously, being so technology driven and focused, and also from retiring a couple times and coming back into the industry, which is always great. The other person, Cindy Clare, as you mentioned, she made a big impact on my life, pulling out chairs for me and including me at NAA and getting me more involved in NAA, which was really fantastic. So thanks for sharing that. In terms of, as you're talking about, having people there who can help guide you, be there when you need them, sharing examples. How do you think about talent, and how do you what are maybe some of the secrets as you're thinking about replacing yourself in a role when you're thinking about building out those teams? I think you mentioned 15 people last year that you promoted within. So what are some of the secrets or tips in recruiting and finding talent and helping people, like you said, go through the same challenges and overcome the same challenges you've seen yourself?
Well, I think I'm trying to think this through. So in 23, we had 50 people that we promoted, and in 24, we've had 15 so far. I've had situations where we've promoted people and then we've demoted them back. And each one of those, we've re-promoted them again. So, we felt as though people were ready and right to be promoted. And then when we got them in that position, they missed some marks that they should have hit, right? So a lot of that is for me, we're asking the personal questions. How you doing at home? How you doing at night? Are you sleeping okay? What are you doing on the weekends? And if you're talking to people and they're working 16 hours a day, they're working the weekends, they're having issues with their teams. Those are flags that you kind of look at. You shouldn't be working 16 hours a day. You shouldn't be working on the weekends if you're doing it right and you have the right people and you have the right teams. It should be fluid, and you have your work time and you have your home time. And there's big press right now on, work-life harmony and that balance. So I don't think there's a lot of balance to it. I think, as an organization, we look at harmony and we think that you're going to work real hard and you're going to play real hard. And sometimes those intersect with each other. But you need to have that downtime where you can release your stress and unwind and then focus when you're at work. And if we have people that can't do that, we have to reevaluate that. And we really see it in people that we promote sometimes prematurely. But that's rare for us. Coming up in my career, the way that I did it, and I kind of use this as the platform, the way that I look at people. So when I was a service tech, when I was a maintenance technician, I went in and talked to my manager, which was Kevin Sheehan, and I asked Kevin, how do I move up to the next level? And he said, well, just look at the job profile. Look at the job description. It tells you what they do. So I did that. So I grabbed the job description, and I started working in my position as though I was a service manager. So the thought process for me was, well, if I was a service manager, how would I want this done? How would I want this ticket done? How would I want the communication with the resident done? How would I want the shop to look? How would I want the logs to look? And I worked like that. When I was a leasing consultant, although for 30 days. I think R&B just wanted to put me in that position to see how I would do before they moved me up to the next role. But when I was a leasing consultant, I grabbed the leasing manager job profile and on and on and on, all the way up to where I am today. I've always looked at the next level, and I never went into a conversation with my supervisor saying, I want or you need, like, I want to be promoted or you need to promote me. I never had a conversation like that. It just kind of ended up there in my head. It's what I wanted, but I didn't vocalize that. My actions dictated my performance and where I belonged in the organization, and people saw that. There are people out there that think that they've been in a position for a certain amount of time and they deserve to be promoted or deserve to be in a certain position. It doesn't work like that. You have to earn that, and it's very competitive. And there's a lot of people that are working really hard to make it to those next levels. So, it's a matter of you position yourself and thinking at the next level. And those are the things that I look at for the people that we have. My favorite position in all the property management is the assistant manager position. My favorite. It's a training position. I view it as a training position. Although most assistant managers are responsible for collecting the rent, they're supposed to be learning how to manage an asset. And my philosophy here at Adveneer and every property or every company that I've worked with is, we don't promote an assistant manager and then teach them how to be a property manager. It doesn't work like that. We want assistant managers to dual manage an asset or a community with the manager being a safety net. And if I know as an assistant that I've got a manager there that's helping to protect me, it helps me to make better decisions, right? So when they are promoted into that manager role and they've got an asset and they have those responsibilities and they have a team that they're responsible for, it's more of a comfortable transition because they've been prepared for that. So that's how, we look at transitions and promotions of people. And, we want people actively playing a part in their growth and not kind of standing by waiting to be put in that role. And the beauty of that is you don't have to do a lot more than the next person for somebody to see what quality you have, right? If everybody's just trying to get by, it's that one or two people that are doing the extra that everybody sees. And then the decision on those promotions is real easy. So.
Before going to my next question, Carl, I want to thank all of you in the audience for joining us today. Thank you for hanging out with us. And next, Chris and I will take some questions from the audience. So I'm going to start. I'm going to start first. And I have a question from Larry Belloc. What advice would you give your 20 would you give the 20 something that work for you? You're 20, I'm guessing, what advice would you give your 20-year-old 20 somethings that work for you?
One, be yourself. Again, don't try to be something that you think people want you to be, and be inquisitive, and and don't be a drone. Like, don't wait for people to tell you what to do or how to do it. And Larry, I'm not sure if if you're on the service side or the management side or the office side. We're all management. I think going in and participating as part of the group and wanting to add value to the team is what people want to see. And it's those types, like everybody's a leader. I don't care if you're the most junior service tech on the team, or you are the regional director that's heading up a portfolio and you're attached to that property team. Everybody in every single role has leadership abilities, and it's how you approach that. So leadership on the maintenance side. You walk by a spigot and you see that it's leaking. You put in a service ticket. You take care of the spigot. Why do you do that? Well, you're doing that because you're saving the property money, from the utility. You're preventing damage to the building, and that's the part you play. I mean, it's that simple. That's a leadership move. But if everybody takes that approach and does those things, then everybody adds value. So, if you're young and coming in to this industry in your 20s, start your reputation as soon as you walk through the door. You come in, you are a player. You are coming to play. You're not sitting on the bench. You're not waiting for the coach to put you in. You are there to play. And we want people to be active and not wait for people to tell you what to do. And if you can master that, you're going to do extremely well in any business that you're in.
I think that that ties in. That story reminds me of one of the first buildings in San Francisco I lived in, where I got in when I fell into multifamily, Carl, and seeing a flood happen in a hallway at about 10:30 at night when everything was closed, and I'm walking down the hallway and I'm seeing water gushing out of the ceiling and flooding a hallway. And I called security. They could care less. Someone will get to it tomorrow. Basically, it wasn't their fault. And I go, I have to text the regional manager. I know the regional manager is on site. It's 10:30 at night. He's probably going to care that this is happening. He was so thankful. He ran over and he was so thankful of that. And you're right. Like, I think those people who don't care, it's not their job versus it is their job, and show the onus of getting involved, that everything, all of this affects all of us, and that team player relationship. So I love that these nuggets you're dropping, Carl, are phenomenal. We're going to go to another question here in the audience. Jeff Hoke out of New York, who has a lot of experience in the industry. And I think his question has to do with centralization. And I'm curious, I think, one of the questions we get asked a lot, and Carl, I want to get your thoughts, is how important is thinking about the right tech partners around centralization? Are you trying to have more technologies at the centralized level, more of a regional level, that you're helping these on-site teams to be more productive?
Yeah, I think we're all struggling with that right now. There's so much technology out there, and there are so many options of what to do and how to build that into your system or your systems. We're looking. Everybody goes through COVID, and then we all everybody's reevaluating how we do business and how we approach things. And the virtual leasing comes into play. I think there's a lot of focus on that right now. We're looking at that of, how to incorporate those technologies into our business, but at the same time, we don't want to lose the personal touch. Like, we do not want to lose that, and we want technology to help us. We don't want technology to rule the day for us, and we want to be efficient. But when a resident calls, we want to be able to have that contact with them. If somebody has a question, we want to have a heartbeat on the other side of that to help walk them through that, because that at a point is going to become somebody's edge, right? They're going to do that a little better than the next person, and you've got prospects out there that are looking for those things. But at the same time, you obviously want to be on the cutting edge of what the technologies are. So, right now we're just investigating our options and taking a look at it. AI is huge, and really coming in with a bunch of different things of anything from responding back to residents, or taking data that you have and dropping it into different profiles where you can understand the data a little better, so you can approach situations differently. We're looking at Elise AI coming in to take care of our collections and our renewals, along with our leasing efforts. Tour 24 is a big part of us that we're centralizing throughout our organization. How do we look at applications a little differently, doing verifications on our income, all of that comes into play. So, I think everybody has a lot of options, and we are in the process right now, Jeff, of actually looking at all of our options, and then building it. So as an organization, we're looking to double in size essentially over the next 5 to 7 years. So, we're at 13,000 units right now. We're looking to grow on that. And we're in a position right now where we're kind of lucky, where we can look at it and say, all right, so where do we want to be in 5 years, and how are we going to build into that? Do we have, and right now we're looking at us individually and just making sure that we get our fundamentals right. We want to be fundamentally strong before we start bringing in this new technology, and making sure that we have the right people in place that can actually manage this new technology and it fits within our organization. Because at the end of the day, our reputation is tied into the decisions that we make, and the money that we're spending for this technology as well. So there's a lot of facets to that. I hope I answered your question, Jeff. It's kind of went around on that one.
Carl, I want to go over the current conditions in 2024 market conditions. What are the top challenges and opportunities that you see for property management operators, for multifamily operators and multifamily investors in 2024?
I think it's just making sure you land in the right markets right now. So markets are saturated. They're saturated with product. I think that it's finding people that can actually manage the assets that you have, that a lot of people are struggling with right now. But I think, density of units and the competition that's out there is what's really plaguing all of us. And we can see that in concessions that are being played out in markets, and you can see that in the occupancies that are dropping in the market. And I know the forecast has a lot of the markets dropping in the occupancy because of all the saturation that's out there. And look, that goes back to the experience, right? So I don't know if it's more the market and the new deals that are out there as much as it is what are people doing in their own shops or their own organizations to retain the people that they have and people aren't leaving on them. I think that's where the focus is right now when it comes to multifamily and where people are. It's the experience is where people are focusing. That's what we're focusing on. How do we build on our resident retention? What are we doing to increase that experience that the residents are having? What are we doing that causes us to be a little different, a different approach or a different feel or a different touch that other properties maybe aren't doing? That's kind of how we're evaluating the market. We're looking at a lot of new deals, but a lot of it is just the financing right now. That's just really difficult for companies to kind of make those deals happen. So you're watching the markets. We're all watching the markets, and we're all keeping our eye on the economy and what's happening out there. But right now, I think this is a time where you've got one foot out looking at opportunities for you to grow your organization unit count wise. But I think a lot more of the attention and the focus is placed on internally, what are we doing as an organization to, one, keep the people we have in-house, and two, what are we doing about the resident experience? I mean, for us, I don't know if you guys want to get into resident experiences or not. I don't want to jump. I don't know if this is your question or not, but we're looking at the renewal day one. I mean, you rented an apartment with us, your first day move in, we're working on the renewal. And I think everybody has that approach. You don't want to press too hard, and you don't want to over survey people, and you want them to be able to breathe, but you also want them to know and get the feel and sense that you care about them, and you want to know what they're going through, and you want to fix those things. And we talk to our maintenance guys. You're walking in the parking lot and you see somebody with groceries. You're asking them to help them to carry their groceries upstairs. You're asking them how their apartment is. Is there anything that we can fix for you when you walk past them? It's those things. You see somebody, resident watering their plants. You ask them if you can water the plants for them so they can go back and take care of something important in their lives, right? So it's having that kind of experience and just touching people and just saying, are you okay? Is there anything that we can do for you? I think that's where a lot of the focus is.
It's really interesting, Carl, how you talk almost about from like a hospitality standpoint, right? Almost that, when you go to a hotel, they are thinking about that review and you returning from the moment you step foot on that property, right? Sounds very similar in the way of how you think, is you're not waiting, you're thinking about them even before they get there. Is that right? It sounds like you're
Yes.
you're very big in that.
Yeah, Chris, that's cool. So look, if you're in property management, you're a firefighter of sort, right? We're not here for when it goes right. It's supposed to go right. Like it's supposed to be a good experience, right? So we're here when it doesn't go right. We're here when we fail at something. That's why we're here. We're here when somebody has. But I tell the story. Residents don't wake up in the morning and go on their balcony and drink a cup of coffee and watch the sun rise and look at their clock and say, oh, the office is open, I'm going to go yell at somebody. It doesn't work like that. They're forced to do that. Something has happened over and over and over and over again to make them come in the office and launch on somebody. So our jobs in the offices and in service is determine what didn't go well and how can we do better at that. Where did we fail and how can we improve that experience? And if you have the attitude that you're here for service and you're here to help somebody, it makes the job more fun to fix those things. It's interesting. When I was a manager, so I was that manager that used to go to properties to fix them. Like I couldn't stay on a property for more than a year. I would go crazy. And I would go fix a property, then I would go to the next one, whether it was a collections issue or an occupancy issue or a team issue. I would go fix it, hire people, fix the problem, go to the next one. And the first thing I did is I got the team together and I asked them for the list of the residents that they wish would just move out, that they were frustrated with. And I would write their names down and I put them on a sheet of paper and stuck them to the back of my door in my office. And those people were my new best friends. And I went out and I met all those people and I built relationships with those people. And those people became our biggest advocates. If they were in the elevator and somebody was talking smack about the office or how we were doing things, they were the first people to step in and say, oh, no, 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 they'll take care of you. Go in there and talk to them now and they'll take care of you. And it's finding out where your challenges are and where your issues are, and then putting attention to those people in those situations or those actions that you aren't taking. And you find that everything turns, and then it becomes an enjoyable place to work, and people trust you. Um, for us in our organization, trust is it's not becoming a big thing. It is a big thing. Trust is huge. And we want our residents to trust us, that they made the right decision. We want our team members to trust that they made the right decision by coming into our organization. And it's how you interact and talk and act with people that determines and your actions of how people trust you. So I think that's a lot of resident retention and building that trust within people.
Amazing. I guess we could call you George Clooney and Michael Clayton. You're the fixer. It sounds like you share the stories of fixing. So, and I love that, the storytelling you've got. Man, we have to do another episode, Adrian, because I love how you go deep. You have the experiences. It's like you just recall them like that. Carl, on all of this, and like you said, it sounds like alignment up front with residents, alignment up front with employees, training them to their next position. And as you just talked about with centralization, AI, Adrian and I were just at the IMN event yesterday and the day before here in Atlanta. There's countless events happening all the time. Where do you go? How do you stay up with these trends? Are you going to NAA? Are you going to NMHC? Are you looking at other industries to learn from them? How do you stay abreast of all these technologies that are out there now that there's thousands of them?
Yeah, well, we have so our executive team, we kind of go out and kind of divide and conquer on those. Our chief of marketing was just out, and he was at the AIM conference. Joe Mendez, he does a lot of our tech stuff, where he goes out and investigates systems and programs that we have. I have been involved in, so I'm a CPM, so involved in IRM, involved in NAA, not to the extent that I have the past few years, because I've been focused really on driving our fundamentals here in this organization. So Entrada is our platform. We love our partnership with Entrada. We love the connection that we have with those folks. They are incredible partners for us, and we appreciate them being such a huge part of our business. And the systems that we use on the outside of that obviously work with our Entrada system. So I think we don't want to look at the next shiny new toy. We really want to focus in on what we have and making what we have better, and really partnering with the people that we have, whether it's from a trash contract or it's from something as big as Entrada. It's just not jumping at the next big thing, but really focusing in on what you have and building that partnership. We would rather stay with the people that we have and help them create systems and programs that work well for us, because our sense is the same problems we're having, other companies are having as well. So I think more people listen and partner with those people that they choose to help partner in their business, just makes it a better worthwhile system instead of jumping from one thing to the next.
Carl, you had a outstanding career. For those of you that are coming right now, getting out of school, whether it's high school or college, young people, what are the best pieces of advice that you have for them? What would you advise them?
So I've got four kids. I had three of them have been in property management. Both of my daughters were property managers. One of them is a manager for Wynn Residential right now in Virginia. My son, Zachary, just graduated from JMU, James Madison University, a couple of years ago. He's in our organization. He's just in his 30s, and he's relatively new to the industry. So he's a great example of somebody who has skills but not exactly sure what to do with them. And then landing with an organization that recognizes the skills, and then the organization taking the time to cultivate those skills for the long term. And Zachary's earned everything that he has. Like, nothing's been given to him. He earns every day that he comes to work, and he takes his place, and he works for that. And I'm encouraged to see that. So I think for young people that are coming into any industry, especially ours, so it's a partnership. It's not just because as a team member or an employee of a company, you're giving something. All right, so the company has to give something back too. It has to be a mutual give and take. So what's the give and take? The give and take from a team member is, I'm going to show up every day and I'm going to play ball. And you know what? I'm going to give you my best. All right, but at the same time, you have to provide me a culture and environment that I want to be a part of. You have to show up as well as a company and live by your core values and hold me accountable in a caring, nurturing way. If you find a company like that, you stick with it. And a company is just a shell, and it's about the people. It's about supervisors that understand the dynamics of people and how they operate and how they tick. And so, look, we're all different. I don't sit there and stare at numbers and drive numbers. I look at numbers, and numbers are a measurement, but it's not the numbers. It's about the people, right? So if I have a service tech that is running their tickets and they have their shirts tucked in, and they talk to a resident when they're home, and they clean up after themselves, and they tell a resident, hey, have a great day. Thanks for living here. And by the way, is there anything else I can do for you? If I have a leasing professional that stands up to greet people and knows their comps as well as their own property, if I have an assistant manager that's learning at every level to manage an asset, if I have a manager that is engaged with their team and has monthly one-on-one meetings with their teams and takes the time to have a thoughtful performance review, manages expenses, and coaches a team how to work together in unison to accomplish group goals. If I have a regional director that's engaged and is present and shows up and provides the resources and champions their successes as a team and is an accountability partner, holding people accountable for the things that we all need to do, then all the numbers land where they're supposed to land. The properties are anywhere between 92 and 95. They're driving rents. Their Google scores are above 4. Their retention is up over 50%. NOI is plus 3% across the board. it just kind of happens, right? So it's having the right people in the right places, just doing the things that contribute to a team that makes the difference.
Love that. And again, I not to narrow it down here, but as we're coming up on the towards the end of our time together, I love to hear what your thoughts are as a legacy, like the legacy you're building, the legacy you're leaving, and as you pass torches, from company to company or position to position. But how do you want people to think about Carl, and the impact you leave on the multifamily real estate space?
I don't even know what to do with it. I don't know.
No worries.
I know.
Yeah, we asked that of yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I want people. What I mean, people that are around me know that I believe in them, and I see something in people that they haven't yet maybe seen in themselves, or I was always there to listen to them, or just believe in them and trust that they were doing the right things and putting them into a position to succeed. And I think the more that like I do that, the more people around me are just confident in who they are and what part they play in the organization. And like everybody, I want to get to the end and know, not think, but know that my life mattered and I touched people's lives and I made them smile, as much as I make them cry. So, I make people cry sometimes. It's not because I yell at them or I'm angry at them. It's because they feel as though they let me down or they felt they could do better. And that's a great barometer for me. That lets me know where people's hearts are and where they are and that they truly care about what they do. So, I think that goes both ways, but that's how I would like to be viewed in my legacy.
Carl, as we're approaching the end of this amazing conversation, what are some closing thoughts that you want to leave with us and with the audience?
Be true to yourself. Like just be you. And come to play and come to play hard. And I mean, you can look at professional athletes. They practice hard and they play hard. The people around you want you to be present and they want you to be part of something bigger than just you. And if you can be a part of that, and you can participate in that, then you've accomplished something. And I just leave it all on the table and don't be afraid. There are people out there that are afraid to react. They're afraid to make decisions. Don't be afraid. You make bigger mistakes by freezing and not doing anything than acting. And I will tell you, as hard as you try, you can't break it. You can't break a property. You can't break it. There's nothing you can do that somebody around you can't fix. So if you go in with that attitude, you'll be successful.
Carl, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you here today. Amazing conversation. Thank you again for hanging out with us. Chris Moreno, any final thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I mean, Carl, incredible nuggets. Thanks for being so open, vulnerable, and even humble. When we ask you some of these questions, I can't wait to have you on again and follow your work. I think there's definitely people probably in the audience from the questions you could tell, but also who would probably want to work with you and or invest in the future. So thank you for coming on. Can't wait to see you again in real life in the future and grab a coffee with you.
Awesome.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us today, for hanging out with us. I want to thank special thanks to our sponsors, Kairos and GPS Roof Leak Repairs. Have an amazing afternoon, and we'll see you next week.